Welcome to the fingerstyle section of my Volume 1 method book. This is a free method book. It's 100 pages long. You can just download the PDF. There's no sign up or anything required, so there's a link for that in the description. So today we're playing chords, but we're using our fingers to play the chords. So we've already done a number of strumming songs, like this, for example. But now we're going to use fingerstyle accompaniment. So same idea as this, except instead of strumming the chord, we're going to pick the notes as, in technical terms, these are just arpeggios. But in the pop world, we call that fingerstyle accompaniment. So instead of that, we might do that, or there's lots of different combinations we can use to play fingerstyle accompaniment. But of course, we're going over some basic ones today. So we already strummed Scarborough Fair, so now we're going to do the same song, but we're going to use fingerstyle accompaniment. And in my book, my entire book is about reading notation, but in this section, you're just strumming chords, and for fingerstyle accompaniment, I've used tablature. In the classical guitar world, we usually read music, and I really emphasize that. However, in pop music, I do want my students to at least know how to use tab, so that's why we're using it today. It's also just like a different way of imagining how to play the instrument. So although the first section of the book is strictly reading music notation, this section is a little bit more flexible and teaches you some of the popular music skills that I think every guitarist really should know, whether you're classical or not. So just a couple of tips before we begin in regards to fingerstyle accompaniment. Because we're not strumming the chords in fingerstyle accompaniment, we are using our fingers just on certain strings, you don't always have to put the entire chord down. But it really depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a set pattern where it's like bass note and fingers on the upper strings, like in A minor, so I'm going A, then technically I'm not playing the fourth string, so I don't have to put my finger on the fourth string. And I could even change my fingering to have the second finger on the third string, since I'm not playing that string. Depends what you're doing though. If you're improvising and you're using all the bass strings, then maybe you would keep it down so that it's there. But in Scarborough Fair, for example, we don't need to, so we can just use 2 and 1. The other thing is, remember, we're playing chords here, so remember to keep your fingers down. You don't want to play your accompaniment like that. I mean, most likely, unless that's the sound that you wanted. But you want to actually keep your fingers down so it sounds similar to a chord sustaining. The idea is that we're playing arpeggios, right? We're playing chords broken up into individual notes, but we're still on the basic level, we're providing chords. And your primary role as the accompanist is to provide the chord and the rhythm. So you want to be rock solid on your rhythm. In fact, the rhythm is the most important thing. You want to make sure you're keeping a nice, strong sense of the beat so that the singer or your duet partner is able to keep their spot in the music by what you're providing. So you're the rhythm section. You're providing the rhythm of the piece, and you're providing the chords. So make sure like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, that the 1, especially if you have an A in the bass, make sure that you can really feel that first beat. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. It really solidifies what you're doing to the listener and to whoever you're playing with. Sometimes when you're doing fingerstyle accompaniment, you may actually have to follow the singer and adjust your rhythm depending on what they're doing, because you're the background accompanist. But that's for much later stages. For right now, just try to make sure you have a nice strong beat and that you're sustaining the notes in the chord, so we get to hear the chord itself. So you'll be playing eighth notes, so 2 notes to each beat. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, this song, that will be consistent for the entire song. One thing to keep in mind is that we are playing chords. So although we're playing an A minor chord, since we're not going to be finger picking the 4th string, I'm just going to put my 2nd finger on the 3rd string note so that we're only holding on to the notes in the chord that are needed. So the full shape would be A minor, but for this, we can just use the fingers that are needed. So we'll just use 2 and 1 on the A minor. On the E minor chord, usually like this, we don't need any notes on those 2 strings, so we don't even need these. Back to A minor. For the D chord, we will use the full D chord shape. Back to A minor. Now the other chord is G major. Again, the full shape would be like that, but we only need the bottom note and the high note. And of course, you can use 2 and 3. If you've been strumming your chords with 2, 1, 3, then feel free to use 2 and 3 there. Or if you're comfortable, you can use 3 and 4. That's not needed until my 2nd method book, but you can use it if you're comfortable with it. So in the terms of the right hand, you're going to be playing the bass note of the chord. So whatever the name of the chord is, A, E, D, or G, that will be your bass note. So play that with our thumb, and then we're always playing the top 3 strings with our fingers, with I, M, and A. So let's go through this together nice and slow first with me counting. So I'll just do 1 bar for nothing. So 1, 2, 3, and then we'll begin. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 1. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you can add an extra A bass note at the end. It's not written there, but that would make it feel more like a final ending there, ending on the first beat. A couple of tips for you. Make sure you're not taking your fingers off the notes each time. These are chords, so we're going to hold the chord shape down and let them all ring for the entire bar or measure. So making sure everything just rings out. So now I'm going to play it with the melody and the fingerstyle accompaniment, and you can try to play along if you wish, but you don't have to. It might be a little bit fast or maybe not, but it's really up to you. I just want you to practice these arpeggios and make them sound really good. If you would like to try playing along with the video, I'll count 2 bars for nothing. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll begin. And of course, you can just rewind and watch that as many times as you need. Get your hands set up with the first chord and get ready for the count-in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Will the circle be unbroken? So in this song, again, we're just playing basic chords, but we're playing them with our fingers. The difference here is that our thumb will be playing different bass notes as we go through the chord. All the notes are quarter notes, so you don't have to worry about rhythm. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just always 1, 2, 3, 4. In general, we're playing I am an A on the offbeat, so 1, 2, bass, fingers, bass, fingers, bass, fingers. When you're playing the G chord, of course, you can use 3, 4 or 2, 3, whatever you're comfortable with is just fine. And there'll be some little passing bass notes here. So in this one, we're playing some chords, but sometimes at the end, as I'm going G, A, B, C. So just some notes that pass from G into the C chord. This is a common thing. As we get better at fingerstyle accompaniment, we add these little tiny things to the music and just spice it up a little bit. So let's do this slowly together at first, with me counting out loud. 1, I'll just do 1 bar for nothing in this particular example. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want, you can just strum that last chord. We haven't gone over rolled chords yet, so you can just strum it with your thumb if you like. Long time on G, right? On the G chord there. You might find the switch to the D a little bit challenging, but remember, you always have that first bass note to switch your chord. So now let's play it together, but there is a pickup in the melody. So I'm going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and that's when the melody comes in, but you don't want to come in until the first beat. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, da, da, play. You'll hear that play. But you can watch the video a few times and just skip back and just get used to it. If you feel like you can't play along with the video because it's too fast or something, don't worry about it. Just have fun and just play these chords and mess around with it. This section of the book is not really about classical guitar. It's just about gaining some like popular music skills or just some basic guitar skills, right? Outside of the classical pedagogy tradition. So just have fun. Don't worry if you can't play along with the video. Get your hands set up with the first chord and get ready for the count-in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. St. James Infirmary Blues. Now, what I want you to do with this piece is I first want you to just strum it and make sure you can be comfortable strumming it, just with 1 strum per beat. But then I want you to invent your own fingerstyle accompaniment. So maybe it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be almost a similar pattern to the last song we did. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Or you can practice doing like 1, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4. I think that's what I do when I play it in a second. But anything goes. I want you to actually experiment with the rhythm. As long as you're keeping the beat, you can do all sorts of things, you know. You can vary it every bar, but chances are you'll probably want to just experiment with a simple pattern that you keep through the whole piece. As you build up more skills and you do more fingerstyle accompaniment songs, you'll have a whole bunch of different things at your disposal, and you can change it up every bar while still keeping the beat. So this is not ideal for this video lesson format because like the experimentation aspect, but I just want you to have fun and experiment. So what I think I'll do is I'm just going to pick a basic pattern of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go through the piece so that you can practice along with me. But feel free to play along with me and do something different with your fingers as long as you keep the beat. So I'll give you 1 bar for nothing. We'll probably go like 1, 2, 3, 4, just to keep it easy for now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. You can add an extra bass note at the very end. At the very last bar of this piece, just take your pencil and write in A minor. It's already updated now in the book, but just make sure there's an A minor chord on the last bar of the whole piece. And if you're not used to these first and second endings, you play through the piece for the very beginning, you get to that repeat sign and you go back to bar 3, and then you play through, and when you arrive at the first ending there, you jump to the second ending. So you don't play the first ending again. When you arrive at the beginning of that first ending, you jump to the second ending on the second time and then finish the piece. You can rewatch that video a couple times if that confuses you, but I think it'll make sense. So just have fun experimenting with that and come up with your own patterns. You can't go wrong as long as you're keeping the beat. My only advice is try having the base of the chord, so an A minor chord would be an A, an E chord would be an E. If you have the bass note on the beat, like on the strong beat, like on the first beat or the third beat, where the chord begins, it'll be much more clear to whoever's singing or playing the melody what chord you're playing. That strong bass note will really emphasize what chord you're playing, and just, you know, even if you miss all the other notes in the chord, that strong bass note is so important. It'll keep everything grounded. So I would recommend, for now, making sure you play that bass note. Okay, now we're going to play the St. James Infirmary Blues. And if you can't keep up, don't worry about it. Just watch the video and then have fun. But what I'm going to do is count 2 bars in. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you begin. Da da da. That's where the melody will come in. So the melody's going to come in like at the end of the second bar there. So you'll be playing for a little bit first. Of course, just watch the video as many times as you need to understand how that works, but there'll be 2 bars counting before you begin. Get your hands set up with the first chord and get ready for the count-in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. House of the Rising Sun. So in this piece, again, you're playing the tablature, but it's going to be played in triplets. So 3 notes to each beat. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see in the first bar of the tab, I've put some dotted lines to emphasize where the 4 beats are. And then you just play through that. So again, we're playing chords, like A minor chords and C chords, but you only need to put down the fingers that are being used. So in the A minor chord, instead of using 2, 3, 1, we can just use 2 and 1. Because those are the only notes we need, because we're not improvising, we're just actually going to play the tab part here. For the C chord, usually 3, 2, 1, we're not actually playing the 4th string, so we don't have to use that finger. On the D chord, we do. We have to use all the notes. On the F major 7 chord, we have to use all the notes. In A minor, we can just keep our 2nd finger on the 3rd string. C. And the E major chord, instead of this, we can just use our 1st finger, because that's all we need. So let's go through this nice and slowly first. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, we're on that speed. So I'll give you 1 bar for nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. If you want, you can just play a bass note A on the 3rd beat if you want it to sound more final. So my only piece of advice in this song is to make sure you're going at a speed that you can handle and that you're having the 3 beats evenly within each bar. And remember, if you're having trouble switching the chords, you don't need to jump all the chords over into their full shapes. You can get the bass note first, and then the next note. In the D chord, you could have the whole first open string D. If you want to get the notes one at a time, that's fine. I mean, I kind of grab them just as a full chord, but when I go to the F, I'll get the F bass note first and then grab the rest of the notes. So you always have that first bass note to grab the rest. So in some ways you might find this complicated at first, but in other ways it's easier than strumming because you don't have to get the full shape right away. So now we'll play the piece. The melody won't come in for quite some time, but you can just play along. I'm going to give 1 bar for nothing so you can hear me count it in, and feel free to just go back and watch it a few times before you try playing along. But you can try that out as many times as you want. And as always, if it's too fast for you to play along, just have fun, experiment with it. You're just trying to gain some couple of skills outside of the classical world at the end of the book. So just enjoy yourself. Get your hands set up with the first chord and get ready for the count-in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.